Welcome to another episode of UEN's PDTV. I'm your host, Katie Blunt. Think you know what the high school experience is like? This episode might just give you some new ideas. Today, we've traveled to Launch High School in Iron County School District to find out how their unique style of teaching and learning helps students learn critical thinking skills. You may recall that 2 years ago, we did a virtual PDTV episode with Launch High School. We are excited to finally be here in person to talk to English language arts teacher and team lead, Cody Christensen. Hello, Cody, and welcome to PDTV.
Thank you, it's good to be here.
All right, so tell me a little bit about Launch High School and what is so unique about teaching and learning here?
Well, Launch High School is a blended learning school, which is pretty cool, which means that we try to do stuff that is all based online. They can do all of their work 24/7 online, and then we're here to support and help them, and they have to be completely competent, so we're also a competency-based school. So they have to get at least 80% on all of their, what we call deliverables, in order to move on. And the other beautiful part about that is they can move faster as well. So if they're doing better, they can be way ahead. If they're struggling a little bit, they have time to actually get help in maybe the subjects that they're struggling in more. I've really been in love with what we're trying to do here, and I think it's maybe something we might see more of in the future.
Launch High School is uniquely designed to support Education Technology Competency 3E, which focuses on critical thinking. Throughout today's episode, we'll learn how Cody helps design and facilitate project-based learning experiences and provides opportunities for learners to engage in computational thinking learning experiences. Since Launch High School is very student-driven, we will also hear from some Launch High students about their experience and how this unique way of learning helps them develop critical thinking skills. So specifically your role as a teacher at Launch High, how does that differ from teaching at other schools?
I'd used Canvas at my regular high school for years, and so I just kind of was expecting to come over doing some of the same things, but it's not. It has to be very well set up. That Tier 1 instruction that they do themselves online has to be excellent. Otherwise they're going to struggle a lot more, and you're going to spend a lot more time helping kids get caught back up. So we're learning to be better on that Tier 1, making that first level of instruction even better, because so much of it has to be them doing the work on their own, self-directed, and that's a key point that I think I didn't realize when I first got here, how critical everything we do online has to be.
In addition to the online schoolwork that students do, they're always working on projects.
Right.
What is your role in supporting them as they do these problem-solving projects?
We took on what we call design thinking out of the IDEO company, which is just an incredible way. It's changed the way I think, the way I problem solve, but it goes through these steps of, starts out with research. They got to do secondary research. They got to do primary research. So what we call empathy research, where they interview people or do observations of people. So it's really human-centered design thinking, which is really cool. As a teacher, you're involved in that whole process, helping them set up interviews, helping them write better interview questions. You know, the project specifically, we try to help and nudge, but not take over. We had to let that go a little bit. That was hard for us as teachers. We want them to learn, to maybe slip up and fail and learn along the way and learn from their mistakes, which is absolutely a huge part of our project. So we believe in a lot of iterations, or what we call prototypes. So do a first prototype, do a second prototype. What did you learn from that? How can you do it better? And so some projects turn in, it's supposed to be a quarter, but sometimes they turn into 2 or 3 quarters as they learn and progress through that design thinking.
This quarter I'm doing a stop motion animation with my friend Isaiah. He's using character props and little puppets and whatnot, and I'm using silhouette cutouts. The main thing we're trying to learn is like problem solving skills. So the big problem right now I'm facing with my project is because I have to cut out each individual piece, like each individual hand, arm, and leg, whatnot, and it's hard to get them to line up bit by bit for each frame, so you have to take each photo at a time. so it's a little difficult to get the line up. So I'm trying to develop a way to make the knees and like the elbows like connect to each other while still being flat in stop motion, which is becoming a little problem lately, but it's fun to try to figure out.
And you told me that, just as you said, you've learned a lot from this engineering process, but that you implement that process in your teaching and planning just as much as the kids do.
Absolutely, right. So our 3 words are innovate, improve, and impress. And innovate is just so much a part of the school. Even as a teacher, we are constantly evolving and growing and getting better at what we do. And we do that by doing that human-centered design. We've actually put together groups of students that come in and they'll give us feedback on how things are going, because we want it to be more and more successful as time goes on.
So I think at a traditional school, you will have some teachers throughout your school career, but a lot of times you'll switch every year. But here at Launch High, even if they're not teaching you a core subject, you can still have them help you on your projects, and you gain a personal relationship with every single one of your teachers, which is something that is so impactful about this school. And we've never had Mr. Christensen until this year, but he's always helped us with our projects, and you're just able to build such good personal relationships with all of your teachers at this type of school because you're with them all the time and they're being able to help you with things you're passionate about, not just the core subjects.
They must be learning a lot, as you say, not just from the interviews and observations, but from working with each other.
Absolutely. So we have a lot of things that are going. They might be helping each other pass the particular deliverable or competency that they're working on. We also have them working collaboratively in those projects. They might be working collaboratively on something from their content areas. So there's a lot of collaboration going on, but there's also a lot of soft skills going on, like how do you manage your time? If we tell you all you have to do is get these 4 content deliverables for this quarter, how do you plan that out? And a lot of kids right out of the bat failed. They without a teacher constantly saying this is do this is do then, do this now. There was a lot of kids that struggled with that. But over time, a lot of kids are just working, and they're working on whatever subject matter that they're behind in or that they're trying to focus on at that moment. We didn't decide that for them. We encourage them to use Google Calendar. We use Google Calendar here a lot, but we don't really force them to do things at certain times. If they're behind, they get a little bit tighter ship. They have to come up and check in for classroom hours or office hours. But other than that, they're making all those decisions on their own. It was extremely important a skill to have as they move forward.
My experience has been great at Launch High. There's a lot of different paths you can take for education, and this was a great place for me to come. I've learned how to manage my time because here you're not sitting in classrooms being told to do certain things at certain times. You're down working on your own, working on what you need to, and taking tests when you want to and when you need to finish when you want.
Tell me how technology is integrated into everything you're doing and supports all of this great learning.
We wouldn't have been able to do this even maybe 10 or 15 years ago without Chromebooks, without a much cheaper level of computer that they could have. And then the other thing is we use a lot of things like 3D printers and laser engravers and a lot of other things that actually help them to prototype. And so we're trying to do a lot of things to teach them how to do that outside of just regular pencil and paper work.
Absolutely, and what I noticed too as we were here today is the moving in and out of all these different modalities, physical spaces, content areas, and it's like what you said, it's preparing us for real work-based problem solving, because when we're in our jobs or in college, it's not like, okay, it's time just for English, right? And it's okay, now we're going to use iPads. No, it's what tools, what knowledge, what people, what space do you need to solve this problem?
Absolutely. And I think, I was at the college a couple weeks ago walking around, and yeah, they have their classes, but what do you see when they don't have their classes? They're in the library, or they're in those community spaces at college, and we want that same feel here so that they learn how to use that space and not get too distracted.
So when you mentioned your sort of theme and slogan for the school, it also reminded me of Iron's Essential 8.
Yes.
So those are all goals of the whole district, right?
Right.
To develop these soft skills in
Absolutely.
students.
So our district a few years ago, they actually interviewed all the businesses and the stakeholders within our area and said, what is it that you would like a graduate of Iron County School District to have? And that's where the Essential 8 come from. And a lot of them are just soft skills, right? Skills that don't necessarily, doesn't fit anywhere into a particular content class, or it's just all around skills, you know, responsibility and all those things that matter that we don't really necessarily teach, but we hope kids learn as they go through this process at a regular school, but especially here at Launch.
One project that I did once was I created a business that cleaned up trash in communities, and so it was a way to keep your communities cleaner. So I went through the problems, how can we get our communities to be cleaner? There's a lot of trash going into the ocean, just like there's a lot of landfills. And so I created like a business type approach where, first of all, high schoolers could be employed to work as cleanup, and then also it could keep your communities cleaner. When I went through that process, that was my freshman year. It was my first time here, and I think I was so excited about it that I just went through it and I created one and I said, that's good. And I pitched it and they were like, this is not done. And I learned that projects, there are so many steps to them. And there's so many important steps, and if you skip them, it just doesn't have the same impact. And here I've been able to learn a process where, like she said, you don't even think about it, you just know the steps and you do them, and that makes everything you do just in life so much better because you're able to go through all those thoughts and all those processes.
Those are really important skills, both for design thinking and just all around good soft skills, innovate, improve, and impress. Once they innovate something and they improve that, we want them the final thing is to impress whatever their audience is.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing what you're doing here at Launch High School.
Thank you for coming down. We're really excited about what we're doing here.
Now that you have seen EdTech Competency 3E in action, consider how you can add more critical thinking into your own classroom. Your school might not be set up the same way that Launch High School is set up, but which of the skills they're utilizing could also be implemented in your classroom? For example, could your students benefit from utilizing an engineering or design model? For example, the IDEO model mentioned today. Project-based learning is also a great way to get students thinking and problem solving. And while students are working on projects together, they can develop vital soft skills that will help them in school and beyond. In the project-based learning process, the teacher is able to be more of a guide, allowing for more student-driven projects and more student voice in the learning process. Also, consider opportunities for cross-curricular projects. Are there opportunities for you to collaborate with other departments and subject areas in your school? When students solve problems in the real world, they're going to have to draw upon knowledge from all different curriculum areas. Critical thinking crosses the divide between curricular areas, so when we give students opportunities to problem solve across curriculum areas, we are better preparing them for their future education and career paths. Computational thinking is also an important part of this EdTech competency. Remember, critical thinking is not just about coding. It's actually developing a problem-solving process, outlining steps to solve a problem, and then getting feedback, iterating, and making improvements. For even more resources, strategies, and tools to implement this competency in your classroom, be sure to visit uen.org/PDTV to access the teacher toolkit that accompanies this episode. Thanks for watching UEN's PDTV. To access more professional development resources from UEN and to schedule a training, visit uen.org/development. We'll see you next time.